Hi guys, and welcome back to Hairdryer Treatment. The Soph and Meg show is back. We've got plenty to talk about. Obviously, Van de Beek has now signed. Me and Meg are buzzing about that. But firstly, Meg, I'm going to ask, how are you? And how is life now being a school mum?
I am a school mum now. It's really going really well actually. My little girl settled into school really well. And I feel like obviously you've gone back to work as well. I feel like we're getting back to normality in terms of everyday life, but I feel like normality is resumed at Manchester United as well. Finally, having
We
signed
hope.
someone this week, I feel like that's kind of brought us back into a bit of normality. Like we're still in there.
Yeah, I think we felt negative for a while, and obviously this Van de Beek, the way that it was handled as well, it was really quick. Obviously, from the rumour starting to him actually signing, I think it was rapid. But yeah, I mean Van de Beek. Firstly, Meg, how much have you seen of him, and do you think that he's going to be a good signing for us?
Okay, on a real side note, I've just looked at my screen and thought, ignore this because I'm mid redecorating this whole room. So I apologize. I've just looked and I was like, this is fresh plaster. This is not how it's all decorated in my house. So apologies. Secondly, back onto the actual subject. I haven't seen overly too much of him recently. Obviously, you saw the great Ajax run that they had last season in the Champions League. Um, and I think, and like I said before, I think he was really important and instrumental in that team, especially. But from what I've heard on and off the pitch, great signing for Manchester United.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Daniel Luciano, thank you so much for the super chat. Says before tactics, let's really appreciate the fact that we've got Van der Beek completely, and it's just lifted the whole mood, hasn't it? We were so down seeing Chelsea sign player after player and hearing rumor after rumor. To finally seeing a deal complete, I think it just lifted the whole mood. Ryan, thank you so much for the super chat. It says evening, ladies. Evening to you as well, Ryan. Evening to everybody in the chat. I mean, Van der Beek. I've seen a lot of people discussing where is he going to fit in? Is he going to be the quality off the bench that we've lacked, or is he going to make it straight into the starting lineup? Now, Meg, I'm going to ask your opinion. Do you think Van der Beek he walks straight in, or can you see it being more of a rotation kind of signing that we've made?
I feel it's like a rotation. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone in the chat has heard Danny Murphy this week. Or no, Danny Mills, I think it was, come out and
Yeah,
say
Pogba.
about one, Pogba leaving, or two, Van der Beek's going to be a squad player. What, 40 million for a squad player apparently paid? Absolute rubbish. Rubbish. For me, out of the Pogba, Bruno, and Van der Beek now, you play two out of probably the three, the two that are most on form, or tactically wise, you play, if you want to play more offensive, I'd put Van der Beek, Pogba, and Bruno in. If you want us to be a bit more defensive, you put two out of three of them in. You probably put like a Matic to break the play up and give us a bit more coverage across that back four. But for me, he doesn't just walk straight into the side, perhaps, but he certainly doesn't just sit on the bench either. He's definitely a
Yeah.
player that's got the quality enough to be on the pitch and playing and competing for places to start with. Just depends on who's on form for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're saying our strongest midfield, technically that is, and obviously in terms of name and everything that he brings to the club in terms of his character, you'd say he'd get into the strongest midfield. So that'd be Bruno, Pogba, and him. However, like you've just mentioned, I think it depends a lot on the team that you're playing against. Sometimes we mentioned Matic being that crucial player who does the simple stuff well. He's disciplined in that role. I mean, we saw when Matic didn't play, we did lack him in that defensive role. So against some teams, we still need that stability. And I think if you played the three players I just mentioned, we haven't got that stability. So I think it depends on the nature of the game, who we're playing against. But the thing about Van der Beek that I like is the difference in combinations we can have in that midfield. Then we haven't got to rely solely on Bruno, for example. He's a different option for us, and whether that means off the bench or whether it's just a change in formation, which we're going to look at in a minute, I just think it is the perfect signing for us. I'm not saying we desperately needed that creative midfielder, but we needed more quality midfielders. We've mentioned
Definitely.
the struggles that Ollie has when he needs someone to change the game. Van der Beek can be that guy. Van der Beek, should I say? He can be that guy, can't he, Meg?
Yeah, like you said, I think really now it gives us more of an option in terms of what our tactics can be. We've got more of an opportunity to mix it up. Again, depending on who we're playing. And I think that's so important that you're not just solely relying on, like we said before, those 5 or 6 players going forward.
Pereira
we've got Bruno. Yeah, Pereira. And you look at the quality between Pereira and Van De Beek. This is where we should be now. We're starting to. We've done the rebuild. I think we've gone through that period of. We haven't spent really very much on quality players, but we've got through it. Now we're seeing quality come in.
Yeah, I think. Like I said, the way that, I don't know about you, Meg, obviously we heard Sancho, Van de Beek. I never fully believed the rumours because it just seemed low-key, didn't it, until obviously the deal happened. Thiago is another one. I saw someone just mention it in the chat. We mentioned it on the last stream. If he came to United, we'd both be absolutely buzzing. There's rumours that Ollie has spoken to Thiago in person, but the wage demands are just too high. What do you think about those rumours, Meg? Would you splash the money on him because he's that good of a player, or do you kind of understand that we don't want to sign players purely for the fact of the money, do we?
I like the fact that Ollie's digging his heels in. He's now building a team of players, not just a team of individuals, like a proper team of players that want to play for Manchester United. And I think it's so important right now as well that if you're looking at the players that are coming in and the wages that they're on, if we start then just say, we've just got rid of Sanchez. He was on our books, far too expensive to not perform. We give Thiago that the same treatment, and he gets out, however much he demands. Then other players are going to start saying, "Well, I want to demand this, and I want this," and it's not about that anymore at Manchester United. It is about players who want to come and play. Fernandes wanted to come and play at Manchester United. That was his desire. Van de Beek desire to come and play at Manchester United. We're getting players now that want to play for us, not want to play for the money.
Yeah, and I think Ollie looks at that in players, doesn't he? Look at the Bruno signing, for example, the Maguire signing. I think it's about the leaders and the characters that he has in the dressing room. He wants the right balance. Because you've got to be careful if you're getting a big name player like a Galactico as such. It could upset the dressing room, and that's the last thing that Ollie wants. He doesn't want big egos. That's what it strikes me like. He wants players who are going to graft and fight for the badge, and he wants that passionate player for the United badge, doesn't he? That's what he wants for the dressing room, and it seems like he's trying to balance it in terms of ability, but also how they'll influence the dressing room. And Daniel, again, thank you so much for the super chat. He says top teams have good bench players and competition. I agree completely.
You look at Man City. I can say Man City at this. We've spoke about this, haven't we? About how you're not surprised at players being on the bench of that quality. You look at Aguero, like he would walk into the majority of Premier League teams, and yet at times he sits on that Man City bench, and it's no shock or surprise because of the other quality that they've got in the team and the fact that he still gets used. That's what we want to be seeing.
Daniel says Thiago is old, injury prone, and there's bigger priorities. Which thoughts on that? He's a class player, but he is obviously not getting any younger. 30 million, I believe, they want for him. 30 million, it sounds stupid. We're saying, 30 million doesn't seem that much, but obviously it is. But in the grand scheme of transfer windows and what it's like nowadays, and like I say, a player like him, I do think he's quality, but I do accept the fact that he has had a few injuries over the years. I still think it's nailed on he's going to Liverpool. I think our name was just mentioned literally to try and get them to pay the money up faster. But I'll be interested to see what happens. And if, like I say, if he did come to United, I'd be absolutely buzzing. Sandy, thank you so much for the super chat. Love the show. Well done for growing the channel. Do you think we can play Bruno, Pogba, and Van de Beek against the lesser teams when they have a low block and move out to CDM? Definitely. I think they'll obviously bring creative play. They'll bring that flair going forwards, the speed in the attack. But like I mentioned, you have to be careful in when you play that, because that's not a disciplined midfield, is it? You don't want players who are going to run off. You want players who are going to naturally fill in. And that's why I think Matic does so well, and that's why we need somebody who's going to fill that Matic gap after he does leave, because he's not getting any younger again. Ryan, thank you again for the super chat. Go on, mate.
Just going back to Sandeep's comment with the Bruno Pogba and Van De Beek. I actually feel in that formation, we'll see Pogba drop back. He has got that defensive side in him. We've seen him like track back.
He likes to drop to get the ball though and start the attack. If you notice with Pogba, he just like to drift. We just want him further forward because we know what he can do. But he does like that. You can see.
That's the thing. I think he would play that role, but then I also feel like Pogba's actual role is slightly more forward. Like he's not the CDM, obviously, but in that three, I think he would be the one that would sit, and Bruno have the free role up top, and then Van De Beek box to box.
Yeah, I think the thing is for Pogba as well, we know how good he is, his ability, but he likes to take risks. And if you are that holding midfielder, the CDM, obviously you can't take those kind of risks and lose the ball just in front of your defence. And we've seen it happen with Pogba. We've seen him have the ball nicked off him, and I'm not criticising because that's the way he plays. But I think that's why he shouldn't be trusted in that CDM position. He's more of a free roam kind of midfielder. Ryan said Van der Sar for the director of football. Van der Sar obviously has done us great with this deal for Van der Beek. Obviously it's gone smoothly because obviously he was involved in it. He was emotional when he let Van der Beek go. I mean, Meg, he would be perfect for the job, wouldn't he?
Anyone for bloody director of football at the moment. We haven't even got one. We haven't got one. But no, he does seem to fit that role very well at Ajax, doesn't he? And I think actually I like the fact that he's at Ajax because I feel like that's our link to another club. If we took him out of there, we don't perhaps have the link on the other side. Definitely agree that we need a defender of football, director of football. You see you see the clubs that have got them and what they do in the transfer market, and then you've got our shambles.
We mentioned, don't we, how frustrating it is. Why does it take us so long? And to be fair with Van der Beek, it didn't seem to take too long, but a lot of it has to be down to the negotiating, doesn't it? Has to be down to Woodward and Co. It obviously, talks often break down there. We've seen cases where we've been trying to penny pinch and it's bit us on the arse. Harry Maguire was a good example of that. And I do think that in terms of the negotiations and the scouting, we need a director of football, and I would absolutely love to have Van der Sar. Nicole is in the chat. Hello to Nicole. She says, Ajax is such a classic club. Have you seen some of their tweets after, obviously, Donny's gone? The fans as well. They've just been so respectful, and I think it's been lovely to see that. Like, there's loyalty, obviously, there between the player and the club, isn't there?
Yeah, and like, just the open letter that Van der Sar wrote as well. Everything that they've put online is so respectful, and you wonder why other clubs aren't like that. And these are clubs that are like massive worldwide. And you look at the mess that is in Barcelona at the moment that's going on there. That's not how to handle a situation. Ajax are handling a situation.
Yeah, I think Ajax is just a classic club anyway. I love how they bring the young players through, always play amazing football. Like you mentioned, that fantastic run they had in the Champions League, and they were just so entertaining to watch. And I think that's one thing about Ajax; they're always so entertaining to watch, and I love it. But in terms of Van der Beek, then I mean, going forward to next season, we were talking a bit on WhatsApp and trying to discuss formations and what we can see happening. I mean, realistically, Meg, what do you think will happen with Van der Beek? Do you think it'll be a case where he has to kind of earn the right to start? He won't be played straight away, or do you think Ollie will put him straight in?
Obviously, with the international break right now, by the time they come back, he won't actually have had that long training with the team. So I don't see him going straight in because I feel like we need a little bit more time to kind of gel the players together and start building relationships. I don't see him walking straight in, but I do see him playing and having minutes. I feel like it's a little bit like the Pogba situation at the start of Restart. He didn't play on Tottenham and he came in and then he earned his place within 45 minutes of that Spurs game, or didn't even have 45 minutes today. So I feel like that will be Donny's kind of thing as well, that he won't start, but I feel like when he comes on, he'll show us why he's here, why we went and got him, and then it's like, well, Ian's is right.
I hope so. I mean, someone mentioned the 4-4-2 diamond. This is obviously just a draft, and it is quite small. I apologise for that, but it's just when it's so visual, like Van der Beek on the left of the diamond. Obviously, it could be the right. Then you got Pogba, Bruno, and obviously, presumably, been Matic in the holding. Personally, Meg, I can't see that happening. Obviously, against certain teams, it might work. I mean, what's your thoughts on that formation of a diamond? I personally like width, to be honest, but what's your thoughts on that?
Um, I think you have to have very good attacking fullbacks because I feel like they're the ones that are going to give you the width.
Yeah,
And whilst I think our fullbacks are good, do I feel like their attacking is their best part of their game? No. Wan-Bissaka is clearly better at defending than he is going forward.
yeah,
That's just he's like a brick wall going on the defence. Going forward, everybody says he needs to improve on it. Sure, obviously injured towards the end. Probably better. You see that relationship with Rashford at the moment. We always talk about this, like you see Shaw overlapping him. He gets up
yeah.
there, but I think you've got to have really good attacking fullbacks for it. I don't think it gives us the width.
Yeah, I always remember that Everton game. I think it was Everton when we tried to play the diamond, and they just absolutely rampaged us. Like you mentioned, they had attacking fullbacks, and they overlapped, and they just absolutely ruined us. And I've just got bad memories of playing that. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens. This is a really good point from Vinit. Thank you so much for the super chat as well. But he says with Pogba having COVID, obviously Van de Beek could start, and it's very true. Obviously, he may have to self isolate. I mean,
He
Pogba,
should be back though. I think it's
I'd
only
imagine
14
so,
days.
but obviously that's us keeping fingers crossed and hoping that he fully recovers in time and whatnot, and hoping he's doing well. But it's true that is a risk though, isn't it? Especially with players out on international duty as well. And they're like that could happen with anybody. I mean, what's your thoughts, Megs, on Rashford pulling out of the international squad as well? Because we haven't spoken about that. Obviously, he said he didn't physically feel up to it. I mean, I'll discuss it in a minute. But when you first saw that news, what did you first think?
I was like, I heard just that he'd withdrawn himself. I didn't know the reason as to why. So I was like, I hope he's not injured. But cautious, isn't it? He's just being cautious, and I feel like he's now got an extra chance to rest. And if that's
Yeah,
what he needs, it's great for Manchester United. If like being selfish, great for
yeah,
Manchester
it's true.
United, but Rashford loves playing for England. You see that when he plays. You see the way that he talks about it. It's such an honour to be. Well, all the players that have been called up, you've seen their reaction. It's an honour to be called up for England. So I think great for Manchester United, slightly selfishly.
Yeah, I think if we're honest with ourselves, I mean, you know how much I love Rashford. I know you're a big Rashford fan as well. But since his injury and since he came back after lockdown, he wasn't the same player that he was before, and he was carrying us at the start of the season. If we're honest, and then I don't think he'd fully recovered. Maybe he rushed himself back too soon. Maybe in his head he wasn't still fully recovered. He still felt he was pulling out tackles because he didn't fully trust his injury. Would you agree with that, Meg? Do you think that's a fair judgment? And like
Yeah,
you say, of course, I love Rashford, and I'm not being a hater. I just feel that genuinely he hadn't fully recovered.
I think as well that the run of games that we had in such a short little amount of time, even if you are fully recovered, to go from one extreme to another can be really difficult. Like even if he, and
Yeah.
then if you're not playing with confidence and you start to have a little a bad game, that escalates because you haven't got the opportunity to try and rectify that very quickly. You've got to turn around to the next game, and if that one doesn't go, it's like a very quick cycle, isn't it?
Definitely. I mean, obviously England are playing on is it Saturday, I believe. It could be Sancho watch. Well, not obviously Grealish got called up. Connor Cody got called up as well, didn't he? From Wolves. I mean, I'll start with Grealish. Do you think that he earned that call up, and do you think it was well deserved? Personally, I do. I think he was amazing in that Villa team, and I'm excited to see him. I think he's earned the right to represent his country.
I think he has. I am really surprised that we only announced a 23-man squad to start with when you can
Yeah,
name up to 30. And I think really what he should have done is named a 30-man squad. Because if you're Grealish, you're only there because Rashford's dropped out.
yeah. It's like Connor Cody. Obviously, thinking I'm only there because Maguire got arrested, for example. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And although they've earned it, it's also they didn't quite earn it because it wasn't in their hands. They're only there because someone else
It's almost like they were on
isn't.
standby. And obviously because someone's
Yeah.
dropped out that they've been called up. Phoenix says a 4-3-3 with Sancho and Regulon would make us incredibly strong. I mean, I agree with you, Meg. I think if you're playing that formation of the Diamonds, you need attacking fullbacks, and that's one thing we've said about Wan-Bissaka. He's not that consistent, not that dangerous going forwards. Sure, in flashes, but if we're honest, he needs to improve. Luke Shaw, since his injury, I think he's been hesitant. However, I do think we've missed him on that left-hand side. He does his runs, I think, help Rashford out on that left-hand side. And someone mentioned that just in the chat. I did put it on the screen as well. But I agree. I think our fullbacks have to be better at attacking if we want to play that formation, because we've got to get our width from somewhere. And if we've got fullbacks who are reluctant to go forward to try and beat a man or try and get a cross in, we're going to become too one-dimensional, aren't we?
Yeah, I think it's not reluctancy to go forward with Wan-Bissaka. I honestly don't. It's not his forte. He's just better at defending, isn't he? He's a proper defender. He's a full, and that's what fullbacks should be. They should be better defenders than they are attackers. If that's how you get, at the moment now we see the fullbacks that they've got to be able to go forward, and yet we criticise Trent Alexander-Arnold because he's not that good at defending. Yeah. Fullbacks are defenders. That's what you've got to be good at to start with. So I'm not criticising Wan-Bissaka, but it's just not his forte.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think defensively, you're right. That's the priorities, and then you build from there. But I think the modern day fullback is you are good defensively, but you're also just as good going forwards, and that's just the way it is. And I find it mad sometimes to think Wan-Bissaka was originally a winger, because he doesn't seem to have that natural ability to just try and beat a man. He looks uncomfortable, and like I say, I'm not dissing him. I just feel like he's better defensively than he's going forwards. But he was actually a winger, mate, because I think he's a bit mad. But Neil's confirmed that England play Saturday and then Tuesday. I mean, international break is an international break, isn't it? How are you feeling going into this one? I'm a bit gutted, obviously, Rashford isn't there, because he's one I'd be interested to see. But at the same time, I'm quite excited to see Sancho. I'm still remaining hopeful that something can happen with him. But of course, don't get too sucked in. I keep saying that. But I mean, on the Sancho front, Meg, a lot of people have been asking, we've obviously got Van De Beek, who's next? Do you think that could still happen?
No one's next until we sell someone. Genuinely, and that is exactly, I'm standing by that. I don't think we will sign another person unless we sell someone. And at the moment, I don't hear any rumours, although I did see Phil Jones to Newcastle.
Take him.
I don't know if that was like, I don't know if that was a sarcastic rumour or not, but we won't sign anyone.
Smalling will go.
But
Smalling to Roma.
There's no confirmation of that at the moment. I don't feel like we've had any bids come in for any of our players. I'm literally waiting, come on. Who wants our players? I feel like we should be on The Apprentice and be shifting these things along. We've got a player. Like an auction, just auction them off.
Smalling to Roma, Georgia just said is a close one. I've heard 20 million-ish, I believe. Agreed, AWB's lights out defence, first priority. Yeah, I think it needs to improve going forward. No doubt about it. However, like Meg mentioned, I'm grateful for the fact that he is a solid defender. See what other people are saying in the chat. I thought someone was after Smalling. Roma, apparently. There is lots to talk about it. I mean, Smalling to Roma, we mentioned if we had to keep one out of Phil Jones and Smalling, we would keep Smalling all day. But if he goes, and you're looking at the quality of our centre-backs, like you mentioned, say Phil Jones goes, dream case scenario, do you think then, I mean, we've been linked up on Meccano, do you think then we'll look to sign in a centre-back? Because there's rumours that Ollie does want to strengthen in that area.
I feel like that's the area we need to go for. We all talk about Thiago and stuff like that, but we need to focus on this centre-back situation. If we get the opportunity, then I feel like that's the position that we need to be going for. If we're going to only bring one more in, as much as I want Sancho in, if you're looking at it and you're as not just a Manchester United fan and you follow your heart and you want Sancho, but if you're looking at it tactically, centre half is where we need to strengthen. It's not a want, it's a need.
Let me know in the chat, guys, to make a statement there. Would you rather us sign a centre-back or would you rather us sign Sancho? I would like to see what the balance is there.
I'm going to put this out here.
If you had one.
A defence wins you titles.
No, if you're not scoring goals, though.
With Martial and Rashford, we got goal, and Greenwood. We've got goals. We've got goals, but I feel like we need this defence sorted.
Yeah, I think some of the
as a defender.
I don't know though. For me, I just feel we've lacked on that right hand side. I know Greenwood obviously came into the fold later on in the season, and he's very clinical. But I don't know. I think I would edge towards Sancho because I think we've just lacked in that position. But ideally, we need both.
Have you seen the comments? Literally, one went centre back, then Sancho. The next comment was centre back. The next one was Sancho.
It's tight. That's what I mean. I think it's hard to choose. Ideally, we want both, don't we? But that obviously might not happen. But I think we said, didn't we, that Smalling could possibly come back and stay, and then we wouldn't sign a centre back. But if we're being honest, you've got a choice of Upamecano and Smalling. You take Upamecano, but he's just signed a new deal. Leipzig don't have to sell because obviously they sold Werner. I don't know. And when you look at the quality of centre backs out there, young centre backs, there's not a lot out there, available ones anyway. Daniel says get Sancho, keep Smalling for now if no money. It's interesting. Obviously, Boye is another one that we talk about. If he stays fit, we think he could be a good partner for Maguire, but it's that massive if, isn't it, Meg? Can Boye stay fit?
You know, I'm literally just like fingers crossed, like please just don't get injured. Like that's the player that got injured by our own player. That's how injury prone he is. Like he didn't even need the opposition. We did it to him ourselves. Like that guy is just a magnet for injuries at times. But I love him. I love the style of his play. I've said it before. He's the closest thing that we've had to a Vidic or a Ferdinand for a long time at centre half.
Yeah,
that's the centre half that I like to see.
Do you think that is why he gets injured though, because of how rash he is and some of the lunatic moves he does as a centre back, like trying to clear it with a bicycle kick and doing a Cruyff turn to the 6-yard box and stupid stuff that he does? Do you think that that's why he gets injured, because of the way that he plays?
So someone, I can't think it was, it's on TalkSport, and they do a show that's they're talking about up front, and they talk about the number 9, and I can't remember who it was on this week, and they were talking about Vidic, and he said that he went running as fast as he could to go and shoulder barge Vidic off the ball, and Vidic didn't flinch, and the number 9 went on the floor. He said, I literally braced myself. He was like, I went for it. I knew it was Vidic. And yet you don't kind of get that feeling with Bailly. You feel like, although he's that type of player, he gets injured because he's not got the strength of Vidic. No one's got the strength of Vidic. That man was like Hulk.
It's true. And Ben makes a good point. He's Smalling really better than Boye or Lindelof, which is why I said I would rather have him than Phil Jones. But I completely agree. Does he really improve the quality? Not really, does he? I think he's had a good spell in Roma, and maybe it suits him more in that league. But yeah, I agree. I don't think he improves us. He's not the best ball playing centre back. I know a lot of people see that clip of him booting it into the crowd. I'm not judging it on that. I'm judging it on watching him over season. And I think with Smalling as well, with VAR involved in that, I do think he's a bit of a grabber, isn't he? You can see quite a lot of penalties, grabbing people's shirts, clinging on in the area. And that's one thing I think would go against Smalling with the whole VAR and how strict it's been in the Prem.
Yeah, I think he's one of those ones on the if like they've got a corner. He literally rugby tackles. You're thinking you're playing the wrong bloody sport, mate. But yeah, I don't know. But if you're talking about we've got to sell players and people aren't coming in for anyone else, you've got to start moving players on. We've got to. Yeah. We've got a whole list. I seen you put up one of the comments. We've got a list of players. No one's coming in for this list except for Smalling.
Can't even give them away.
I know, like.
Realistically though, Meg, who can you see going then in this window? Who do you reckon will go? Who would you like to see go? And that sounds nasty, I know, but realistically, who should we get rid of in order to let someone else come in? In your opinion?
Pereira, Jones, Smalling, Rojo, depending on how many we get in.
I did use quite bad terminology for that phrase. You know, a bit of a grabber.
Because Mata might be on my list as well.
Oh, Mata. Yeah,
I know.
I read today that he's been linked to. I might have been to Rome actually. And moved to somewhere. Obviously, I don't know how true that is, but
Mata for director of football.
Just because you love him, just want him to stay, just in some form.
Just give him a job as like the social media team or something.
Daniel says Pereira, Jones, Mata, and maybe reluctantly fan favourite Lingard should be sold. I think Delot's another interesting one. Someone mentioned there, Delot. Where do you see Delot's future at United? From my point of view, Ollie doesn't seem to fancy him. Do you think a loan maybe would be a better thing for him to get some more game time and then judge it from there?
Potentially, these players need football. The ones that we're talking about need time on a pitch. We're talking, except for Jones and Pats, but Pereira needs game time. Dallo needs game time, and they're not getting it. So if you can't judge, I feel like it's really hard to judge somebody, especially as a fan, when you don't see the training either, to be like they need to go. There potentially could be something there, but what have we got to go on? The last time he played, well, Dallo got us the penalty against PSG, so on his Manchester United highlights, should he stay? But yeah, I feel like they need games.
Yeah, I think when we first saw Dallo, he was positive on the ball. He'd try and beat him, and he was whipping crosses in for fun. He's shown that he could deliver a good ball in. And then for whatever reason, he just kind of, I don't know, he plays the safe pass all the time. Defensively, I think he's looked very, very shaky. And I just think we got overhyped a bit too soon with him. And I think it's shown that defensively he's a bit vulnerable. And maybe a loan would be good for him. Maybe a loan would be good. Maybe it's too early to judge, but at the moment, definitely not good enough to start or to get anywhere near the starting lineup, I don't think. Romero going for 10 million to Aston Villa and Smalling for 25 million apparently to Roma. I mean, Romero makes sense, doesn't it, really, to part ways with him? Do you think at this point now Henderson is back, Meg? I think Romero's been fantastic for us, but do you think this is his now time to move on and maybe play first team football for a bit?
Yeah, I think if I was Romero as well, your footballing career is not that long in terms of your lifespan. You know, you need to be playing, otherwise you look back at your career and think, you know, Romero, he'll look back and he'll be like, oh, I was the cup keeper. Do you really want that? If you really want to play football, do you really want to look back on your career and say, well, I sat on the bench for 80% of the time and then I played a few cup games, but then Ollie dropped me for the semi-finals?
Earned stupid money the whole time whilst doing it as well. It's mad, isn't
it? It's this whole money versus playing argument. You've got it with Bale at the moment over in Real Madrid. You've got Ozil sat on a bench, just very happy to sit there.
I've seen that Bale apparently he wants to come back to the Prem. And I'm going to ask you now, don't you? For me, it's an absolute no. But Gareth Bale, would you take him?
No.
Why not?
No, because for what though? Like what? Like going on playing ability, yeah, great. He's a fantastic player, but I'm not paying you all that. Well, me personally, I'm not paying anyone, but we're not paying somebody that amount. If you end up paying someone that amount, the next person that comes in wants, you know, a proportion of that in terms of what they are. If you start giving one person it, you got to start giving it. You wait till you have kids, you will understand. You got to give one, you got to do the other. And I'm not saying all these players are like kids, but at the moment, the way that some players are acting, Ozil, for example, child. Look, it gets me mad that players are happy to just sit on a bench because they've got no idea how lucky they are. Zero idea. What are you going to do in 10 years? In 10 years' time, they're going to look back and think, well, I just sat on the bench. You cannot live your life off that one Champions League sick goal, by the way, but you can't live your life on that one goal.
I don't know. Yeah, but he's not living it. He had a massive move from Spurs, didn't he? He's won a lot at Real Madrid. It's just obviously very sour.
Has his Real Madrid career really genuinely impressed you? Or do you think that Gareth Bale at Spurs is better than the one at Real Madrid?
Yeah. But I don't know. He went to Real Madrid, a massive move. They haven't exactly treated him well. I kind of respect the way that he's just totally mugging off Real Madrid and he doesn't give a toss about it. Like, I just think it's hilarious. But at the same time, I agree with you. Surely don't
tell me you feel sorry for him.
No, I don't feel sorry for him. But what I mean is, if he's going to play for Wales, surely it's not. George mentioned he's on a decline. If he's not playing as much football, he is going to decline, isn't he? He's not going to be match sharp as such. He's going to be training. But yeah, I think it's too injury prone for me. It's a no. But in terms of him coming back to the Premier League, could you see that happening maybe for another team? Spurs, maybe?
I don't think Spurs would pay his wages. They're tight, aren't they? They're tight. They're like, now we're not paying anybody any form of money. So no, I don't see him going. I think like emotionally and that attachment to Spurs, yeah, like he probably would go back there, but Spurs would probably take him, but they're not paying him.
Yeah.
So Bale needs to look and think, I'm not going to get what I was on unless I go to China.
Yeah, I agree with Kevin. Smash a like, guys, if you do not want Gareth Bale to, I agree with that one. Guys, if you want to chat in all seriousness, that we've got over 300 now, please do hit the like. We'd appreciate that. And ask any questions.
Go on, finish.
Like you'd like
I'm
to
going
ask.
to pose my question. I'm going to pose my question. I mentioned this to Soph earlier, and I'm intrigued to see what other people say, because I'm going to start by saying, realistically, now you've got to take that into consideration with your answer. What is Ollie's aim this season?
You mean like objective? What should he be aiming for?
What's his aim? What is he going to sit down at the board and say, this is our aim for this season?
Get in the chat, guys, get answering, and I'll have a go. Realistically, I think to win a trophy, I think we got to, 3 semi-finals last year? And I think we need to break that duck and we need to get into a final and actually win one. So, yeah, I'm going to say win a trophy. And I think I'm not going to say top 4. I'm going to say top 3, because I think it's always about trying to close the gap between the top 2, Liverpool and City, and us. And we've been too far away. And obviously finishing 3rd last season, I think we're slowly closing that gap. So I'm going to say top 3. Top 3 a cup, and I'm going to say at least getting out to the group stages in the Champions League, at least, is what I'm saying, because I think we should try and go further, of course, but I think that'll be something in his mind. I want to get out to the group stages, but I think you'd have to say top 3 and winning a trophy. I think a trophy is a big part of that, because we got so close last year and we bottled it on so many occasions. I think he'll want to win a trophy this season. I mean, I'll throw that question straight back to you, Meg. What do you reckon?
So I'm just to apologise, because I am looking over here, but the comments are all coming up over here, so I'm not just like ignoring Sophie.
I thought she was just ignoring me.
I'm just reading, because there's quite a few people coming in now with some opinions on this as well. A lot of people mentioning the point gap that you'd said as well, Soph.
Yeah.
And a lot of second or third. Somebody did say title winning. Now I'm going to disagree. Hart says would love him to go and win the league.
Yeah.
Do I think that's realistically possible? Liverpool won the league by the greatest amount of points in Premier League history.
Do you think Liverpool, though, they're going to be as good this season?
I think if you look at so we say we were Liverpool fans and I asked you that question, my honest answer to that would be to win the league again. They did it by so much.
Yeah.
They haven't sold anybody on, as far as I'm aware, that is like first team. I know there's some
I think Wijnaldum will leave.
I was going to say there's a few rumours floating about, but no one actually has gone yet. If they don't win the league, that's probably disappointing for them.
Yeah.
Because they won it by so much. For me, I think the points gap is something that we need to concentrate on. I think top 3, but not on goal difference. Top 3 by points.
Yeah, would
obviously be something. I'd like to go on and win one of the domestic cups, so whether it's the FA Cup, Community Shield, one of them. I'd like to see us go on and win that, like next year. And Champions League, like you said, definitely getting out of the group stages. I would say I don't think the Spanish teams will do anything next year. This is going to haunt me bad. I know it is. I don't think the Spanish teams will do anything in Champions League next year.
It depends on how Barcelona invest. If Messi does go, how do they spend the money? I think it comes down to
that. They're leaving it very late. I don't like in terms of selling him and then trying to get players over. I don't see that happening. And so for me, getting out of the Champions League, I think realistically, obviously it depends who you draw against. If you get Bayern Munich, do I see us beating Bayern Munich?
I think I agree with what George said though. Why compete if you don't think you can win? I don't think you can win. I think you just have to have a realistic target in the back of your mind. Ideally, of course, like Matt said, I'd love to go on and win the treble again. Of course I would. And I think a lot of this judgment, it's hard to make it because if we sign Sancho and we sign a centre-back, for example, I think our expectations will go up another notch again. I think if we're talking about where we're currently at right now, without getting a centre back, without getting Sancho in, purely just with Van De Beek and not getting rid of any deadwood. I think you have to be realistic about it. But of course, I hope for a fact that we completely exceed what I've just said and we win the treble or whatever was just mentioned. But I think you have to have that realistic target, don't you?
Too short, Tino. You're totally right. I said the Community Shield and I meant the League Cup, so I do apologise. Me just getting carried away in my own thoughts about where we're lifting a trophy already. I'll sense it. But yeah, I think lifting getting a trophy, I think that's really important for the players as well as the manager and for Manchester United. These players need the taste of being able to get a trophy.
Yeah.
And I think realistically in the Premier League, the top three. I'm not saying third as in we're going to finish third and that'd be great. Top three would be like third minimum.
Yeah. I think top three because, like I mentioned, I just want to close that gap. But you mentioned the points different last season. We need to obviously not let that happen again. We need to be closer. Doug says Man City are the only team to have retained it in the last decade. The Premier League is one of the hardest things to win. I think if you look at Liverpool's form ever since it was announced as well, I know there's obviously that holiday kind of feeling. They've won it, so what else have we got to play for? But then obviously they played in the Community Shield the other day as well. Unless they sign players, it's almost like they've reached that level now. How do you lift them again, isn't it, from that level? And I think they need to reinforce, like Doug says, and bring more high-quality players in. Thiago is one that obviously they're looking at closely. And I do think there's an element of that with Liverpool because when you've achieved it all, it's about lifting and going again, isn't it? And whether they can do that. And I think it's going to be an interesting one. Man City, especially if they get Messi, obviously they're going to be no fools. And I think it's going to be a mad season, but you can't even forget Chelsea as well, the investment that they've made. Havertz have just agreed a deal with as well, a record-breaking deal, I believe. Teams are strengthening all over the place. Don't underestimate teams like Spurs as well, of course. Jose Mourinho, I know what they're capable of. I think it's going to be a tight one. Last season, we saw too many teams bottling it. I don't think we'll see the same thing again this season, Meg. Do you think that, like the top four, for example, I think we were lucky to get third last season, if we're honest, in terms of how teams bottled it. I can't see that happening again this season.
No, I saw a tweet earlier saying Chelsea, about something about Chelsea, and they were like 12 points ahead of us. Talk about bottling it. How are you going to get 12 points? We clawed it back eventually. Yeah, I feel like with Liverpool that because they won it by so many points that they have got a bit. They could have lost a couple of games and still won the league because the other teams did bottle it. But I don't see teams doing that next year. It's funny how you didn't mention Arsenal then, Soph.
I'll talk about the top teams, mate. George, we're talking about obviously Messi. George is talking about saying the baby always throws his toys at the fan to get a bigger contract. Do you think that I can't see Messi leaving even now? I know there's BBC rumoured to tweet the other day about saying he's agreed a deal to go to Man City. I do think if he does leave, he'll go to Man City. But that £700 million clause or whatever it is, I just can't see that happening. I mean, Meg, can you honestly see him leaving?
Yeah,
you can.
I think he's forcing his way out. And we'll go back to Bale. If Bale could force a move,
yeah,
Messi is forcing a move right now, and I think really he has been so loyal to Barcelona. He has been an outstanding player for them, and I think they should have a bit more respect for him and actually sit down and say, do you know what? You've done so much for this club over the past 10 years that they should just make a deal now and say you can go on a transfer, but not with this 700 million or whatever it is. I don't know what's going on with that, but for me,
there's a clause, wasn't it? That was their release clause. Messi can go for 700 million.
It's an absolute shambles.
La Liga has obviously stepped in and said they're going to support Barcelona. First Cascani, I'm only joking in terms of Arsenal. It's all just banter, you know that. But
no,
in terms
it's not.
of
She's lying.
It is. Aubameyang, I do think he'll sign a new deal for Arsenal. I think that's pretty obvious that's going to happen. Yeah, I think it is. I think he's going to. Rebuild FC says James Rodriguez to Everton. We should have gone for him. See, Hammers is one of these players. He had a mad World Cup, scored an absolute worldie of a goal, got his big move on the back of the World Cup, and then I don't think he's done a lot since. I think he's a decent player, technically gifted, decent, but he's never quite made it at the big clubs. He obviously went on loan, was it to Bayern Munich? Never was a consistent starter. Do you think it is this case where he lit up the tournament and he's just basically got a big move from the back of that? He's not as good as that move made him out to be.
Yeah, I think he didn't really get the time as well either. We talk about it all the time, don't we? The time on the pitch, and he just didn't get. He's just not had it. Man, I think if you don't play football, you're not going to get better.
Yeah, so, it's true. Do you think that's a good move for Everton now?
Yeah, I think it is for them, definitely. I feel like they need. I feel like he would be eager to play. He wants to play football. Obviously, I think if he didn't need to if he didn't want to play, then he'd just stay where he was. He wants to play football. That's what I read from it.
Yeah, I mean, Donny Van De Beek is a technically good player, like I say. I'm not dissing in that sense. I just feel like he's never really, ever since the World Cup, he's never really nailed it down at a club. And is that because he's not good enough, or is it like you say because he just hasn't had the game time? And it's a big move for him. And to be fair, he could have done what other big players have done and had an easier move to a Farmers League, as people would like to call it. He's took a risky move in coming to the Premier League. It's a tough move. It's a challenge, isn't it? And like you say, it's a time for him to try and prove himself. So I think it's an interesting move. And I think it proved to myself, like I've just mentioned, I'm yet to see if Hammers is actually the real deal. So I think this move will open my eyes a little bit. Jack says get Meg at centre back. Yeah, Meg, would you be interested in playing centre back? Actually, there's a big point. I think it was Brazil, wasn't it, who announced that their men's and women's team are going to be paid the same. And then obviously the FA came out and said they've been doing it since January. I mean, what's your thoughts on that news, Meg?
I saw some disgusting comments online earlier about women's football, which made me irate really, because the amount of people that make the people that genuinely make these comments are the people that also would never go and play football for 90 minutes themselves anyway. And I think it's very easy to sit here and criticize somebody for playing football when you don't play it yourself. But I think it's a real statement, and I am genuinely delighted that countries are taking women's football seriously, because I think if they make a statement from the top down rather than having to try and scrape around at the bottom to try and make statements and build yourself up, having these countries do this will only bring the best out of women's football as well. It's come out the FA have been doing it as well, but I think a lot of the money in terms of when it go, like when you play for England, actually the players then donate it to a charity rather than, because I've seen a lot of people say, well, they shouldn't get paid for being paid. They shouldn't get paid for playing for England anyway. It should just be for honour. But I think that it's right that then it goes to charity and the players decide that.
Yeah, I think, like you say, it's a statement, isn't it? The hate online. I see a lot of people show clips of like embarrassing goalkeeping mistakes from women's goalkeepers, and they make it like that it doesn't happen in the men's game. I saw it with the no look shot.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but United States of America, champions of the world, dominating in women's football. Okay, they like an unreal team. United States of America are. They were playing Panama. Now, Panama, I think they've had the women's team for a few years, and you can, and it's just because it's that. But then there are embarrassing clips of men playing football, and yet nobody says anything about it.
It's just stuff taken out of context, isn't it? It's just like that Smalling pass I said the other day that went into the stand, and everyone just keeps playing that over and over. Like Smalling never did anything good for United; it was always just that pass. And I think people just take it out of context. It does happen in men's football, of course it does. But I mean, don't get me wrong, it was poor goalkeeping. I think I would have done better, like, be brutally honest. But at the same time, like, this doesn't reflect all of women's football, does it? Just like Chris Smalling's pass doesn't reflect all of men's football. You could use the same clips, it's just people take it out of context. But Doug, thank you so much for the super chat. Make sure you go and subscribe to the Doug Out channel. Fantastic channel over there for Doug. Make sure you go and subscribe. Great content daily, I believe, at the minute. He's working really hard on that. Every English club in the Champions League is likely to be playing twice a week right up until December. It's going to take a lot out of the players, which is why the signing of Van De Beek could be even more important, because you've got that rotation, isn't it, Meg? We've seen when the players are tired, for example, post-lockdown, I think some of our players towards the end looked absolutely dead on their feet. This is where we need that strength in depth, isn't it?
Definitely. Like, Fernandez was looking leggy at the end. Like, he was running on empty. And I think you look at Project Restart, and we were playing twice a week there, 3 times a week. It's going to be exactly the same when you look at the fact that, you know, the league started later. We've got more games to fit in. We've got Champions League, we've got FA Cup, we've got the League Cup to fit in.
Yeah,
there's internationals going on. So I think we talk about quality and depth all the time. It's going to be so important to have a squad that can be rotated.
Yeah, it is. Liz Golden, thank you for the super chat. Says women's football is awesome. Play like a girl. Love that.
Go on, Liz.
And it is awesome, and it is growing, and it is getting bigger. But like I say, some people just see those clips and think that summarises all of women's football, when it totally does not at all. It's just taken
They should see your clip against DT.
Yeah, watch that, guys. Go watch that. It's on my channel. Don't forget it. Curtis says, love your interviews on United Stand. Thank you, Curtis. I appreciate that. I mean, that's going to lead on to Meg. We've got some exciting news for this weekend, don't we?
We've got a busy week.
We have. I mean, I've already done how many videos this week. I'm on a roll, but this weekend you've got a ladies in red double. I'm not going to give too much information away, but we said we were going to start some male guests. We're starting it with an absolute bang this weekend. We're live on Saturday and Sunday. I believe it's going to be 6 o'clock on both evenings. But yeah, wait till you see the guests that we've got coming on. We've got different guests, obviously, Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, I can't wait to tell people. I'm going to hold off. I cannot wait. I like to see people trying to guess, to be fair. So we'll leave on guessing for a little bit. But yeah, we've got a massive guest coming on. I cannot wait. First class gamer says DT got owned. Absolutely love it. To be fair, though, if you saw the episode on the Blood Brothers digital tournament that's going live at the minute, you'll see that we played DT. Yeah, it was definitely the reverse of that. 100% the reverse of that scenario. That's all I'm saying. George says, where was my invite? George, we're not ending after this weekend. There's plenty of opportunities. Do not worry. But yeah, we're buzzing to announce who we've got on. Jack says we've got Sancho on. I'm not saying anything. Wait until you see him holding the shirt. We might have Sancho on. Wait and see.
Jack, don't spoil the surprise, all right?
There's a few people guessing Maguire, Rio. I'd love to get Rio on a show. I think we should try that.
He'd be a dream to invite on, wouldn't he? Absolutely. I'd be like, Rio, do you know that I once named my hamster after you?
Don't say that, Meg. Like, you can't say that.
That'd be the first thing I'd say to him, except for the fact that you're one of my favourite ever. But I did name my hamster.
Hello. Thanks for coming on. You just say
skip that part.
Okay.
I'll leave that bit to you.
I'll do the talking, Meg. Oh wait, PRT guys says I've subscribed after seeing that flick. I appreciate that. Sabir says good night. Thank you. Sabir, good night to you. Take care. Cantona, I wish. Ed Woodward, I wish. I'm hoping he's too busy doing deals, to be honest, rather than coming on here. Diego says get Rashford on your channel. If ever it was that easy, I would absolutely love that.
Could you imagine?
Ilya says Phil Jones. I don't think Phil Jones would come on my show, to be honest with you. I can't see him.
I'm not sure Phil Jones would ever go on YouTube and do an interview live.
I can't see it. All I have in my head when I think of Phil Jones is that Chris Smalling and Phil Jones song. I love it.
And then like
every time I imagine him announcing himself on hairdryer treatment, saying, "I'm Phil Jones," you know. I'm Chris Smalling and I'm Phil Jones. That's what I imagined. But yeah, I'm not going to reveal it yet. We'll reveal it most likely tomorrow. To be fair, I'll put a tweet out and let you know who's coming on. But we've got 2 amazing guests, and I'm buzzing for that. But guys, all I have to say is please hit a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. I want to say a massive thank you to Meg, as always, for coming on. Meg, if you could just shout out and let people know where they can find you.
Thank you for having us back on. A nice little Soph and Meg show. We were like, oh, we'll only do about half an hour. We're an hour in now, and we haven't stopped talking. No. Thank you for everyone, because it's not late, but it is late for us. So thanks for joining in on the comments. Again, we've been reading them. If we've missed them, drop it back on the video. You can find both me and Soph on Twitter. And you can ask questions on there for the next video. But thank you very much for having us. You can find me. I've got a new @name. So you can find me at Megan Can with an underscore at the end. And do you know what? I've done that first time without having to be like, which one is
back
it?
to front.
Someone just put my back door is open. this over
There's a
here.
ghost behind you, Meg.
This over here is into my lounge. It's not into just the garden. This is the lounge.
That actually went a bit eerie. I imagine like a face or a silhouette behind you.
Now
Scary.
we've said that, I'm just going to sit like this so that we can see. But yeah, you can find me on here. Thanks everyone for joining in, and thank you, Soph.
Yeah, thank you to everyone. Thank you to Meg. Guys, hit a like on the video. If we have missed you in the chat, drop a comment afterwards, and we always check there and we'll respond. And of course, if you are brand new, please hit that subscribe button. Kevin is spot on. He's saying we're at 281 likes. Let's get it up to 300 at least, guys. Keep hitting that like. We'd appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who's joined in the chat, who's contributed to the show. As always, our channel is nothing without you guys. Take care. We'll see you very, very soon with some exciting news with our guest for this weekend as well. But until then, have a good one. Stay safe, and we will see you.